In the last couple of videos, we have seen what are controlled components and what are uncontrolled components, right? Now, so we saw a few input elements like checkbox, text, and all those. Uh, right now, I want to discuss a few more input elements. Now, you might think that, yeah, we already know like type checkbox or let's say text area, select, all these things we know in HTML, right? So, why do we want to learn again the same thing in React? Because we know that JSX is almost same as HTML, right? Then why are we learning that again? The reason is that the syntax is somewhat different in JSX, and that is not to trouble you that you should learn more syntax. Rather, it is just for our benefit in order to standardize the syntax. So for example, if you see that right now this thing is like one input element like this, then it is fine, right? Let's say right now we also have a text area. So let's say this text area, and you know that in HTML you can write something like that. Yeah, this is an awesome day, some text you have written, and this works in HTML, right? But in fact, this is the syntax in HTML. But in React, you will see that if you do something like that, then you get a warning that you either use default value or use value, which means that they are saying that either make it controlled component or make it uncontrolled component, whatever you do, but just don't have this sort of syntax, which means that they are saying you that you should have something like this. It should be a self closed, and it should have a, let's say let's start with default value, something like this. Then it works, you can see, then it works. Now the thing is that why they did that? So that the syntax of input and syntax of text area, this is another input element, right? It should not vary by too much, rather it should be almost similar to other input elements. That's why they have done syntax like this. For example, again the value, let's say this is uncontrolled obviously, right? Let's say you may try to make it controlled, then you make it simply value, then it becomes controlled. But again, you know that we will want React will complain that if it is a control, then it should have on change also. So yeah, just for the sake of it, just make on change is equal to and let's keep it like empty function for now. So you'll see that now no warning will be there and it works, right? Now the syntax is like exactly same as input, right? So simply, even if it would have been input, then you know that it would be exactly same. So you understand, the syntax became slightly different than HTML, but that became not a problem for us. Rather, it is more of a convenience for us, so that amongst all the various types of particular elements which we are talking about, input elements, the syntax is almost same. So they are trying to standardize that. Okay, now yeah, this is like hard coded, like you can see that I should not. So you can think if I type anything in text area, nothing is happening because now it is hard coded, right? I want it also in controlled manner, in such a way that it should be also part of some state, and then this on change should properly change that. Okay, but and I'll show you that in just a bit. But before that, let me tell you one thing, that yeah, you might be expecting that yeah, here whatever I write, that is going to be coming here, right? So let's say I write simply, instead of this I write simply hello there, or whatever I write, it is there, and after that I cannot change it because yeah, I have this is a fixed value, right? I cannot change it. But there are two exceptions, where if you write, let's say here, null or undefined, then then it does not mean that its value will be fixed. You see that you made it null, yeah, they will complain it, but you can see that it becomes editable. Similarly, if it is undefined, then again it will be editable. So it's not that it is any value. So yeah, if it is let's say empty string, then again it will be like empty string, and then you cannot write anything because it is a valid value, right? So instead of any valid value, if undefined or null is there, then that like the fixed value which it cannot be changed, that property gets lost. Okay, so that is the one thing which I just wanted to tell you. Anyways, coming back to the text area, we were watching that point of time that yeah, if this is something like hello there, then whatever, we cannot change it any further, right? We want to change it, and that's why rather than keeping it here, we should have a proper state. Let's call it let's call that state text. Okay, so in a similar manner to this, let's have text, and let's initialize with that let's say something like this, the particular person, this should be a variable, so the particular person, let's say rocks. So this is the thing which you have written. Okay, now this text should be used at all the places instead of this hard-coded one, right? So this the format will be exactly similar to this thing, right? So exactly, let's copy from here, and we can directly use the same thing here, with the only exception that instead of name it should be text, which we mentioned here, the state value should be text. But now there is a problem. You see, this handle change has a particular hard-coded thing name for it, right? So this same function I cannot use it. I have to use it, let's say some handle change 2, which is a separate function, and now I have to duplicate this function and have to define handle change 2 separately, where I'm not dealing with name, rather than I'm dealing with text. And apart from that, everything is same, right? And now you'll see that yeah, the name is Alex rocks, and then after that anything you want to change, then those things you can write. Okay, so that is fine. So now the thing is that we can clearly see that this is working, but one small problem is that every time we are trying to create a new input element, we have to create a separate handler for that, right? Is there some way where we can sort of reuse the logic? So rather than, you can see that in both these functions almost everything is same, isn't it? Except only this thing. Here it is name, here it is text. Okay, so can't we do something like that let's pass here name is equal to let's say name, and here name is equal to text. So you understand, name is just a prop. You know that name and ID, these two are like standard HTML props, and I can use that, right? So what will happen is that now let's say so let's do one thing. If I submit, then let's see that what is the, not submit, let's say simply on change. So let's say right now it is Alex rocks, that is fine, but let's say I change something, and let's print this event dot target here. So let's print the event dot target. Okay, let's change something. So let's say this, anything I changed, then you can see that this element is coming, that is fine, but this element is now this thing. Isn't it that like dot value, I will also have something like dot name? In fact, dot change function will not be there, I believe. Let's see, dot name. Anyways, we are not bothered about on change, because see, on change is not HTML specific, so they might this is React specific, so they also might give that, but that is not the point. The main point is that we are trying to see things like name, things like type, and we have to see that whether these things are available or not. So let's say this is 1, this is 2, we are interested in these things. So you can see that it is clearly saying that it is its type is text, its type is text area, right? Let's try to do the same thing here, and here you will see that if I change something, then type name and type text is coming, which means that type name is coming, type text, that whatever I'm writing dot this name text, that is coming in this thing, right? So what I can do is that I can make use of that straight away, and then you can see that this is name, this is name, this is text, this is text, and this is text, right? So what I can do is that I can do something like this. So let's say instead of this I write const let's say target is equal to event dot target. Okay, after that I can simply do target dot value here, because event dot target is already target, and instead of name as a hard coded value, we know that in ES6 we have a syntax where the keys can be dynamic and it can be variable. And what I can do is that I can simply take target dot name and put it here. Now you see what will happen. So now you see that this so when this let's say I'm using this on handle change, right? Now you see that when you see that this is still working fine, you can see this is still working fine. Why it is working fine? Because as soon as I am changing something on change, then event dot target dot value, that thing is exactly as before. But now event dot target dot name is this name thing, which means that this value is name, which means that set state name is used. So if you use this value same as the state name, then it will work. But now interesting thing is that even if instead of handle 2 I don't duplicate this, I directly use handle change here, it will out of the box work for text area also. Why? Because for text area, when handle change will be called, then event dot target dot name will be text, and then set text set state, this value will be text, and since this is same as the state name, so the same function will work here also. Okay, so this is the trick which you can use to use multiple event handlers for different sorry, the same event handler for multiple input elements. Okay, so now you can see that this works here also, and this works here also. Okay, yeah. So now we have seen that how to do this, but you might think that yeah, not type is everywhere value used. Sometimes we know that something else is used, right? So for example, in case of you remember input input type, sometimes the type was checked. Okay, when checkbox was there, sorry, checkbox, when checkbox was there, then we saw that that point of time so let's say are you okay? In this case, as you remember, that the value which you're passing, so this is like uncontrolled right now, that is fine. But if you want to make it controlled, then you have to, you can't have value, right? You can't have value. You should have yeah, means the value is essentially checked rather than a particular value. Okay, so essentially you need to have something like checked is equal to true, checked is equal to false, something like that. Okay, but again you know that after this on change will be also needed, right? So yeah, we'll do that. Just right now just use it as just an empty function, just to clear up, get away with the warning. Now you see that it is working. If it is true, if it is false, then it is as good as like initially also it is false, so it will be false, that is fine. But you can see that if it is false and then I'm clicking, nothing is happening, nothing is happening, because this is checked, and no matter what you do it is not changing, because after we click, on change is called and on change is not doing anything. Moreover, checked is always false. So somehow here also you have to do the same trick, that you should have some sort of state. Let's call it, let's initialize it with false, but the main point is that and this will not be filter name, this will be simply directly false. And moreover, why should this be filter name, right? Rather it should be what it should be filter text. That looks better, right? Because earlier, first time we wrote it for just for name, but right now, rather than name, we are also going to use the same thing for text area also, right? So let's replace it with filter text. That looks fine. Okay, so yeah, filter text, filter text, filter text, filter text. Yeah, so that looks fine. Anyways, we were talking about this thing called checkbox. Let's name it simply OK. OK is the name of the OK is simply the name of the state. Now, if I do this instead of false hard coded, I start with this dot state dot OK, and this OK is initially false. That's fine. So it will be initially unchecked. But on change, let's write our own handle change here. Okay, and let's name it handle change 2, and we'll see that how we can reuse this. But right now let's write a separate event handler and handle change 2. And this, what we want to do whenever we are getting a new value, so whenever the things get changed, okay, then what we want to do, we want to set and this will not be value, isn't it? It will be checked, because this is checkbox, right? And we have to set it to OK. Okay, so you'll see that if I click, then it is checked. It is again click, then it is gone. So this is working fine. The only problem is that I can't use so again, see here you are applying filter text, but let's say you are having this checkbox, and let's say there is one more input field where you are not applying this filter text. Okay, so for that also, again, you will write separately handle change 3, let's say, and here instead of checked, you will simply write value, isn't it? This is what you're going to do. So I'm taking the case where you're not applying some special function on something like this. But again, in this case also, you have to duplicate the logic. So and here, let's say some other input, I don't know, input 2 or something, like I don't know, instead of name, let's say address is there. I don't know. So something is there, but my point is that here target checked is there, here target value is there. Okay, so again, this thing is getting duplicated, but rather than simply change in name, there is a change in here also. This you can also handle by simply something called something like this, that let's say const value is equal to, and you check that if target dot checked, sorry, if target dot type in this case will be what? Checkbox, right? So if target dot type is equal to checkbox, if it is checkbox type, then you use the target dot checked value, right? Otherwise you use target dot value. So I'm just saying you that this sort of thing can be reused. And again, instead of this, you directly use this here. That is one thing. And secondly, here now you can use let's say you can do something like here you can use name is equal to OK, and then again the similar thing you can use here also. So instead of this, you can use target dot name. And again, if you use something like this, then you don't need to use handle change 2 and handle change 3 separately, because If it is like some other input field where directly this sort of value is used, then automatically target.type will be not checkbox, it will be text or something. Then this value will be taken, so automatically this will work. And again, target.name, in that thing you can put name is equal to address or something, right? And then this thing will automatically work. Okay. So and why this so this thing can be reused in that sense. Okay. But again, these two cannot be merged, because and this can yeah, basically here you are applying a separate function, and here you are not applying any such function. That's why this we have written separately. Anyways, you can write some additional logic and something to handle that also, but that is not needed here, right? More importantly, here you have used name is equal to OK, and that thing is very much important, because this name is the actual thing which is going to be used here. Okay, and this is going to be setting the OK, set state OK, and this should be exactly same as the state variable which you are using. Okay, so in that sense you will see that it is working fine. Okay, so this thing is also working fine, this thing is also working fine, this thing is also working fine. Okay, cool. So now we have seen that how we can handle multiple targets in that sense. Okay, let's see a few more elements. So one more element for input we earlier saw, which is essentially select element, right? So if you remember, select element was there, and in select we used to have option elements which used to give us options. So for example, we can give something like let's say, I don't know, 1 2 3 in that sense. Let's say 2 3. Okay, and if you see, then it will be behaving like this: 1 2 3. Okay, by default the first one will be selected, but let's say you want to select the second one. Then you remember that you used to have something like this in HTML, here selected. But here you see that yeah, it works. So whatever the HTML style, that is by default it is working, but React is giving you warning that, you know what, you should use a value or default value, because that is what that on the select instead of option. So this is now the difference between HTML and JSX, that they are saying you that this selected, you should not write on this option. Rather, instead of this, you should put some value here, or default value here, and then that value should be a value which is here. So let me tell you what they mean. They are saying that you can have some value. Let's say value is equal to 2, value is equal to 1, something like this, value is equal to 3. So this thing can be anything, right? Okay, and whatever this value you are giving, actually whatever so let's say here you are writing 3 in string, this becomes your default selected. So you understand, rather than writing selected here in 3, you write its value in the default value here, and then it works. Similarly, you can write 2, and then it will work here also. So instead of 3, if you write 2, this value should match the actual value. So here also you can see that we are going in that direction, where whatever the syntax is for the earlier things, that we are trying to mention here. Okay, so now you can see that it is 2, and since it is uncontrolled component, because we are using default value, we can use here value also, just I'll show you in that one moment. But I'm just trying to show you that right now it is uncontrolled component, which means that yeah, 2 I changed to 3, but this 3 is like nowhere, we are not storing anywhere, right? So it is uncontrolled component. If we wanted to store that value, then we can have our own let's say selected value or something like that. Okay, so I don't know, so here you can have another state, so let's say, I don't know, selection or option only, let's say. So option, and let's say it is initialized with 2, which means that initially 2 will be selected. Okay, and then you can write that here instead of, so obviously you can write that in default value also, but there is no point in writing default value because that is rendered only once. Then why are we using state? The entire point of using state is that we want to so just for the sake of no confusion, these two names are becoming same. Just for the sake of that, I'm just trying to use here a different value. So let's say selected value. This looks more legible. Okay, so selected value, this dot state dot selected value. This selected value is initially 2, and that's why when it will be rendered, it will be showing you 2. But again, I will get the warning that if you are using controlled component, then you should have on change. For the time being, just let's keep on change an empty function just to remove the warning. But you can see that now it is working fine, right? But you can see that I select 3, but still it is 1. I select 1, but sorry, it is still 2. I select 1, it is still 2. It is exactly like here. I was changing something, but it was anything was not changing. Why? Because you are not changing this thing, right? It's like, so now you understand that the behavior is exactly same like other input elements. Until unless this thing is changed, nothing will change here. Selection will not change here. And how to change this, that becomes your responsibility in handling this on change. Okay, so now let's say let's say something like handle change. So similar function we have to use here, but instead of handle change, we will have to use some other function. Okay, so let's call it handle change 3. Okay, and this handle change 3 you have to implement yourself, where you will be saying that yeah, so you will be saying that some event will be there in a similar manner, some target you will get in a similar manner. That is fine, but after that uh, what value you are getting, you are getting the value target dot value, and that value you should set it at this dot set state, and you have to do something like this, that whatever the selected value you choose, okay, whatever the selected value you choose, that selected value is going to be your target dot value. Okay, so now when right now 2 is selected, let's say right now 2 is selected, let's say you click and select 3, then what is going to happen? This handle change is going to get called, and this handle change its new value selected is 3, and that 3 is set in selected value, and the state is changed, and that's why this state is changed, and that's why the actual UI will also change. So you'll see that now 2 to 3 and it works. Okay, but now the point to note is that I can reuse this handle change 2 here. Why? Because yeah, you know what, what is target dot type? Target dot type is going to be select, isn't it? So you can see that. Let's print it here. Target dot type. Let's print. For that matter, let's print target dot value also. Let's print target dot name also. Okay, so let's see, if 2 to 3 I am doing, then you can see that this select 1 or something is happening. Yeah, so it's basically yeah, it is like type of select only, but the special thing is that this is 3. This is 3, right? And now there is no name. So what you can do here? Here you can simply do something like this. Something like name is equal to selected value, right? And if you use something like this, then after that you'll see that I do something like this, I do something like this, and you'll see that this name and this thing is happening. Anyways, this behavior, this type behavior is only special for checkbox. Other than checkbox, we can see that whether it is input, whether it is text area, whether it is select, everywhere value is being used rather than checked. Okay, checked is only for checkbox type. That check is already here. So instead of handle 3, if I use handle 2, then will it work or not? You see that this target dot type will checkbox will be false, so target dot value will be used, and target dot value is obviously correct, coming correctly 1 3. Okay, so this value will be 1 3. Okay, so it is fine. After that, what will be target dot name? Target dot name is selected value. So you can see that this selected value will be also used here. Okay, so this target dot name will be selected value. So all in all, we can see that automatically, rather than this, if I simply use handle 2, this will also work. Just in order to make this work, you have to have name is equal to a value which is exactly same as the state variable which you are using. Only this thing you have to change. If you use this, then you can reuse this function altogether. So now you can see that, yeah, 1 2 3 3 2 1, all this is working fine. Okay, so we can clearly see that that thing is working. Now we also know that in select there is a multiple attribute. So in select, if you want to select, this is like exactly one selection, one of the 3 things only you can select, right? But in HTML you could write something like this, multiple, just you write multiple, and then automatically that becomes a multiple selection like this, where like multiple things can be selected at once, right? Rather than only one selection, you can select multiple things. But you can see that it is giving a warning that it must be an array, the value must be an array. Okay, so which means that they are saying that if it is multiple, then the selected value should not be like this, rather it should be an array, something like this. And now it will work. Now you can see that this 2 is selected. Okay, but now you can see that, yeah, I am changing something and again this is not working. Why? Because you handled it here, but yeah, but we did not handle it here. We should handle it here also, right? So turns out that it is somewhat more this multiple thing is somewhat more complicated, so we have to write our own handler. We cannot use directly that. So let's change it to handle change 3, and we will write our own handler, handle change 3. Okay, and now this special handling for checkbox is not needed. Also this anyways, we don't want to use this thing because this is not needed anymore. This selected value, this can be specifically said that what are we setting it selected value. But now the problem is that it's not as simple as setting target dot value, because you see the target dot value is just giving us one value. You can check it here. If you simply print it, then you see that here 2 is selected, right? Let's say after that I want to select 3 also, but it is like not giving multiple values. It is a multi select, right? So somehow so in Windows, I believe that using using control, you can select after clicking once, you press control and select others, then multiple should be selected, but that is not happening right here. Here it is just giving one value every time. In Mac, I think you should use a command, press command and choose the second option or third option, but that is not happening because In select, there is also one thing called target dot options. Okay, it's not particular to like specific to select. Obviously it is specific to select. The point is that this what is this event dot target giving you? Event dot target is giving you this select thing, right? Inside that it gives you options, which are this all list of options, right? If you print that, then let's see what it is. It will be list of all the options. So you can see that it is a list of all the options, HTML collection, which is essentially similar to array only, but it is a list of all the options. More importantly, let me tell you actually how this whole thing will happen. So first of all, now you should understand that how it will be processed. It will be processed like this, that firstly you have to create an array where you can spread it. Okay, after that this will give you obviously all the options. So you can see that it will give you all the options, but from all the options you have to select those which are selected. So you know, so something like this, you have to filter all the options which are selected. Okay, why is that? Because we know that now this event dot target is giving like actual elements inside the DOM. Okay, now those elements have this selected, whatever is selected, they will have selected set here like HTML, right? That's why this will give you only those which are selected. So for example here, let's say this 2 is there, right? I press control or command and then 3, then you can see there's 2 options are coming. It should be 2 and 3. Okay, so you can refresh again. Initially only 2 are selected. I press control or command and then press 3, then I should be getting 2 or 2 and 3 both, and that's what it is. In order to see that actually these two values, you have to extract the values from that. So I have filtered actual thing, but again I need to map, and I need to get the actual values that I can get using o dot value. So right now you will see that you are getting this 2 and 3. Now whatever you are getting, that you should set it in the selected value. Selected value is always an array. It is starting with just one selection, but now you can copy this whole thing, and instead of target dot value, you have to print that. Okay, and if you want to just see that what is actually printed, you can see something like this. You can see 2 3 and then both are selected, 2 3. Let's say I remove 2, then you can see only 3. I add 1, then you can see this 1 and 3. I remove 3, I add 2, so you can see that now multiple selection is happening because this thing is working perfectly. Okay, so in this manner, in this manner you can remove this, and in this manner it will work as expected. Now if you want that instead of just 2, let's say I don't know, let's say 1 and 3, initially it should be multiple selected, right? Then you can do that here also. You can see that initially 1 and 3 are selected. Let's say you can add 2, you can remove 3, you can remove 1, so all those things you can do. But now you have a fair idea that how to handle select. This multiple thing was slightly complicated, but other than that, if you are using simple single values, then for that plain and simple value and on change will work plain in plain and simple manner. Just when you are using multiple, then you have to just pay attention that the actual value will be an array rather than just a single value. More importantly, in handle change, you have to properly extract the selected values using target.options. It is essentially event.target.options. Event.target is a separate variable, that's why simply target.options. Okay, so this is how it is going to work. Now finally, just let me tell you one thing, that it's not that all the input elements in React have to be controlled or uncontrolled. Some input elements may not be controlled. So for example, let's say you know that there is a input element of type file. Okay, so if you see this, then you'll see that yeah, so like, yeah, just choose a file, so that's fine, right? You can't there's no such state in this. This is actually implicitly in control, yeah, implicitly uncontrolled, because there is no state which you can assign. It is by default uncontrolled. As soon as you click something, then that file is selected, but there is no inbuilt state which attached to an input of type file. And that's why this making this something like controlled component does not make sense. So this is an example of input element which will always be uncontrolled. It will never be controlled component. Okay, so yeah, in that manner you can understand. But basically now you have understood that what are controlled components, uncontrolled components, and how to use various form elements in React. Okay, so this was most of it. That will be all for this one. Thanks a lot.